This week we travel to the Great Bear Rainforest, and our journey begins in the pristine city of Vancouver, British Columbia. It's an incredible city, often voted one of the world's most beautiful. You can see its magnificent mountains on the North Shore that are part of the coastal mountain range that runs from the Yukon across the Alaska Panhandle and through virtually all the coast of British Columbia. The mountain range is spectacular, and from the air you can see the rugged snow-capped range for miles. Its backdrop against the modern city landscape is one of the most memorable sights you'll see in all of Canada. Our goal today is to travel north of British Columbia to the picturesque Great Bear Lodge. It means flying from Vancouver to Port Hardy and then on to the Great Bear Rainforest. Things get very exciting when we land in Port Hardy. We're transferring to a 1944 German Goose, one of the classic float planes that opened this country up. It's the build-up to an adventure you will always remember. Our pilot Alistair and his co-pilot Ryan take us on a float plane experience that is truly unforgettable. Taking off over water is thrilling and proves that it's not only the destination that's exciting, the journey getting there is equally as exhilarating. Well, Nigel, how special was that? Landing on the water, flying over those mountains.
Yeah, incredible.
Beautiful plane.
Incredible. I didn't realise this is actually part of the ocean.
It is. Salt water flowing through. You know, look at the environment. This is the Great Bear Rainforest. We are so lucky to be here. This has been on my bucket list for so long. Great Bear Lodge. It's got an amazing story. I can't wait to share this with you because this place is just incredible. And what are we looking for?
Well, what we're hoping to see here are grizzly bears. We've already seen the beaver on the water there, but the grizzlies are what we want to see. And I'm excited about that. Great Bear Rainforest is one of those places you must add to your bucket list. The Great Bear Lodge, a floating lodge, is simply amazing. What a place this is. This is something very special and our home for the next few days as we go in search of the grizzlies. But first, we'll explore the lodge, check the accommodation and settle in and soak up this pure and very beautiful environment. Co-owner Tom Rivest lives out here on Great Bear Lodge, and I'm interested to know a little more about the setup they have going here. Tom, it's so relaxing out here and it's such a beautiful place you live in. How long have you been here and how did it all start for you?
Well, we've been in this river system since 2004. We started the company in 1999, and it started with me living in a tent, people doing day trips, and it slowly evolved organically to what you see here now.
How many bears live in this sort of area?
That's difficult to say. They move around following different food resources each year, but we typically will see 40 to 60 individuals during the 6 months we're open every year.
Running a setup like this must take a lot of management, especially in such a pristine environment.
Well, we try to generate as much power, green power as we can, just because economics make sense for one thing, and then plus it's the right thing to do. And the waste is treated underneath the actual lodge. There's a waste treatment plant in the concrete float. And then things like everything is split into recyclable materials and they get flown back to Port Hardy because the plane is empty going back. We try to maintain a really small footprint here.
This is one of those places that is truly wild. You're not allowed to just wander off on your own here. You must be with one of the staff who will keep you safe at all times. Bears are regularly seen right next to the lodge. Accommodation is lodge style with twin share or double beds for up to 16 people. Gourmet meals are served at the dining table, surrounded by incredible views, with maybe a glass or two of Canada's finest wines from the nearby Okanagan Valley.
Tonight for dinner we have a wild sockeye salmon. It's cooked on an alder plank in the barbecue with caramelized red onions on top, served with roasted yams and a salad of mixed greens, strawberries, maple pecans, goat cheese, and strawberry balsamic vinaigrette.
You will feel right at home here. It's a comfortable base to explore the rainforest and the coastal environment in search of the famous grizzly bear. but tonight we're relaxing and taking in the spectacular scenery.
Next up on Explore TV, we journey to a salmon viewing platform to learn more about the grizzlies' eating habits. And then we take to the boats for a guided viewing session to see the great grizzly bears in action. If you'd like to explore the pristine wilderness of British Columbia, simply book on one of Air Canada's daily flights from Sydney to Vancouver. The Air Canada fleet is an ultra-modern, wide-bodied aircraft with sensational service. They fly daily from Sydney and Brisbane, then onwards to every extraordinary destination and experience that Canada has to offer. If you're flying to Canada, make sure you check out Air Canada first.
The Great Bear Rainforest is around 21 million acres, which spans 400 kilometres from the northern tip of Vancouver Island on the mainland and surrounding sea to just south of Alaska. Being one of the most biologically diverse places on Earth, you can expect to see some pretty spectacular scenery when travelling through here.
Whoa!
Oh, wow, look at this, Trev. This must just be unbelievable in the salmon season.
This is one of the main hunting grounds for the bears. I can imagine the salmon are making their way up the stream to lay their eggs, to hit their final resting spot.
Yeah.
On a good year, Tom was saying 500,000 salmon could come through here, each one weighing up to 10 kilos. No wonder the bears turn up in big numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you never know, mate. I mean, it's a bit early, but we might see some. Great Bear Lodge conducts guided tours through ancient rainforest to the ideal bear viewing locations. Mark!
Hi.
Hey! What time do the bears turn up?
Well, late August, September.
Around 9
Okay.
a.m. Nige.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
What a spot.
Now, they come here, obviously, to fish because the river's shallow. It's probably a good platform. What's the fishing techniques for the bears?
Well, you know, it kind of depends. If you're a young bear, you just race after fish and scare them all off and don't get many.
Yeah.
But if you're an old bear, you're smart, so you creep up behind the fish and then pounce on them.
Ah. Are they all grizzlies that come here?
Well, we have some black bears, but mainly grizzly bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many would you get here, Mark?
Well, it kind of depends. I mean, sometimes you'll see, you know, just maybe 5 or 6. Sometimes I've seen a lot more than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
What type of salmon do you get coming through? Is it all one type or?
Well, the main ones that we get in this river system, we get coho and pink salmon.
Right.
We also get chum salmon. So they're the 3 main ones we get.
What's the best time of the year to see the salmon spawning it and the bears fishing?
Well, the bears fishing, so the salmon arrive in August and they're here September, October. So that's the best time to come to see bears fishing.
Is it true, Mark, that they always come back to where they were born? Is that true?
Yeah, pretty much. They'll be out in the ocean for 2 to 7 years. They can go as far as Japan, and then they'll come back to this exact river, to the exact place at the same time of year to spawn and then die.
Amazing.
You've got a few of these platforms strategically placed along the river, right?
Yeah, we do. We found 5 really good fishing spots along the river, so
Yeah.
we have one built in front of each.
Yeah.
We come down here, we sit here for a couple of hours, and so this is a really good spot for fishing because it's quite shallow. That's where the fish like to spawn, so the bears will be chasing them and, you know, running straight after them, basically. Great for photography.
Just sitting here, what a spectacular view.
I
It's
know.
just beautiful.
I know. And how often do we get to just really sit still and take in nature, you
Yeah.
know?
Our objective today is to learn more about the magnificent bears you'll find in the Great Bear Rainforest. There's the black bear and the brown bear, or the grizzly bear, a magnificent creature that tops the list of a quite diverse range of species you'll find in the rainforest. The journey from Great Bear Lodge to viewing locations is a carefully planned and managed process, focused on the safety of the visitor and the safety of the bears. The lodge is managed and owned by Tom Rivest and Marg Lahane, whose accent is strangely familiar. So how'd you find your way here, Marg?
Well, crazy story. So I was in software development for 10 years and then just thought, you know, I want some more adventure in my life. and I'm really passionate about being outdoors, but I feel like up here I can make a real difference because I can introduce people from around the world to this beautiful wilderness and the bears, and also you can show that you can make money from ecotourism in these sorts of places. You don't necessarily have to take all the resources out.
Where are we heading to?
We're going to head up here into the river. The bears are often on either side of the banks here, so we'll keep our eye out.
All right, let's do it. The rainforest is a rich source of biodiversity, and the dramatic seasons here dictate the bears' activities, which are primarily focused around food sourcing. This time of the year, in mid-July, they're feeding on various berries, which are just starting to ripen. Some are still using their huge paws to dig sedges up along the water's edge. The foliage is a source of fibre and nutrient that sustains the bears as the major food sources come online. Mark, we've got a young bear here. How old do you think that would be?
Yeah, you're right. It is a pretty young bear. Maybe 4, I'm thinking this bear is.
And it's spotted the other bear in the distance as well.
Yeah, they're pretty close, and so I'm wondering if they're siblings. Oh, this bear's just trying to figure it out.
Look at this. They're just gorgeous creatures.
They're really beautiful. Yeah, you can hear this bear huffing a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit stressed, not about us, about the other bear.
And what sort of reaction could you expect?
Well, this is pretty typical for bears. They really don't want to interact with each other, you know. They try to keep their distance, so...
So they're solitary animals?
They are solitary animals, yeah, for sure.
How beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful?
Grizzly bears are highly evolved and don't suffer from modern diseases their human neighbours do, like diabetes and heart disease, which is surprising because their diet is rich in sugars, oils, fats and nutrients.
When they hibernate, they need a lot of fat to go in, and the females also need it to support the cubs. So when we have a big salmon year, we'll get a lot of cubs the next year. If we don't have so many salmon, not so many cubs the next year.
Coming up, we take to the wilderness for an interpretive rainforest walk, following the grizzly bear's favourite tracks and trails, learning more about the ecology of the Great Bear Rainforest.
From humble beginnings in 1999, then expanding to the lodge in 2004, conservation has always been at the heart of this unique operation. And I'm going to find out more on the Tracks and Traces Adventure Tour. Who knows where I'll end up or where I'll be? But I know one thing's for sure, I'm going on that bus in that direction. The exact locations of the lodge and trails are a closely guarded secret. Aside from staff and visitors, not many people know where they are. Exploring is done with a bare minimum of human intrusion. It's just how nature intended it to be, and it's just how the bears like it. Our expedition with Tom today takes us off the beaten track to some of the bears' local haunts. All right, what have we got here, Tom?
Well, this is a wallow. The bears, the males, crawl in here and roll around in it during breeding season, which has been ended for a couple of weeks now. Even now, there's still a little funky smell down here in the bottom. If you just get your nose right down in there, you just can smell kind of a skunky animal smell.
There's definitely something in there,
Yeah.
isn't
They typically roll around in here, rub around in it, and they come out and do the stomp trail here. They're trying to spread their scent all over, so any bear walking by will just, oh, so-and-so's been here.
Visiting the bears' exclusive spots makes you very aware of their presence. But with Tom, I know I'm in good hands. There's plenty to see in these wild and remote parts with a variety of vegetation. Towering conifers of spruce, cedar and western hemlock, deciduous alders, ground-covering ferns and elder and salmon berries, which are favourites of the bears. After a short adventure drive through the forest, we arrive at our next stop, the grizzlies' favourite rub tree trail. So what have we got here, Tom?
Well, this is it's an old bear trail.
Yep.
heads down into the forest to a rub tree. For example, right here, see how this one's kind of muddy and chewed up? This is rub tree number 1. So they rub, they chew, they're basically leaving their scent on it.
And that's to attract the females?
Well, we don't know exactly if it's to attract females. It's mostly males, and they're communicating this male to male.
Yep.
But it's not completely understood.
So it's not some form of an aftershave?
No.
Or it could be. It's a beautiful forest, Tom.
Oh, indeed. Well, here's another rub tree here. This one right here. So there's a whole string of them in a line here.
Okay.
Hey, bears.
That hay bear's call, Tom, just to let them know we're here.
Yeah, they really hate surprises, and if they hear us coming and they don't want to deal with us, they will just melt away into the forest. And this is the big rub tree. And if you look real closely, kind of like a profile, you can see there is grizzly hair. So they're coming in here and just rubbing their body and chewing on it, leaving fur. You can see chunks of fur all over the place here. And so, but first, before they do that, they come in and they will carefully sniff. So then they are reading who was there before, who's here. So they all know each other by smell. So they come here and go, oh, geez, he's here. I'm leaving, or he's here. I'm gonna go chase him out. Or the females might go, oh, he's here. You know, all kinds of various responses.
The wilderness is something to behold. The temperate coastal rainforest here is home to several threatened species and is one of the last strongholds of the grizzly bear in the world.
Coming up, Nigel and I set out on the pristine waters for a twilight viewing session with wildlife biologist Tom to observe the grizzly bear's behaviour and learn a bit about the natural history of this remarkable area.
Seeing the bears here is so special that you would want to take every available opportunity. So the Twilight Tour is a must for wildlife enthusiasts such as Trevor and myself, keen for more ursine action. Even though it's the middle of summer here, it still gets pretty chilly in the evening. And at the lodge, they've got all the gear to keep you comfortable and safe for every occasion. I've taken a particular fancy to this rather dashing camouflage suit. But the big question is, will it fit in the suitcase? Safety is taken very seriously, so life jackets are essential, and the expert guides, as well as sharing their knowledge on the flora and fauna, know exactly what they're doing and are equipped with bear spray, just in case things get a little bit too close. Being diurnal means the bears are active during the day. Sometimes they might be out foraging for food, other times they might be having a nap. But at this time of the day, which is twilight, they all tend to come out looking for their last feed of the day before bedding down, which is why twilight is such a good time for bear viewing. Plus, it's just a beautiful time to be out here. Tom, we've just seen that bear over there. Do you know if that was male or female?
Couldn't tell until I look at my photos. That's a young bear. And
Yeah.
the young ones are a little ambiguous.
Okay. And are they territorial, or do they just all share the land?
They kind of share the land. They'll have a home range, which is the area where they live and where they feed and whatnot. And other bears will overlap that.
And during mating season, does it get a bit more aggressive?
Well, during mating season, the males will become very competitive. And often you'll have an individual rivalry between two animals which are more or less the same size and ability. And they will be very aggressive toward each other and do lots of marking and stuff like that.
Yeah. And how does the water, it's tidal, how does that affect their behaviour?
Well, like see right here where we're parked, this is Lingby Sedge right here, and it's underwater by about 2 or 3 feet. Bears probably wouldn't forage here right now at this tide level, so it was foraging up at a higher elevation. So when the water is high, there's less dry land for them to feed. When it's low, they feed everywhere.
The days are long in summer and the last light fades after 10 p.m, which makes for an extended bear viewing session. This truly is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Well, it's another beautiful day here at the Great Bear Lodge in the Great Bear Rainforest in British Columbia, and soon we're going to go in search for more grizzly bears.
I can't wait. This place is absolute paradise on earth, but don't worry, we're going to be back with another episode of Explore TV very, very soon, if we can just break ourselves away from what is a fantastic experience here. If you want to know more information about Great Bear Lodge, all you have to do is check out the fact sheets or the videos from our website, or if you want to see some photos from behind the scenes, which can be a little bit crazy at times, become a friend on Facebook. I'm Trevor Cochran.
I'm Nigel Ruck.
We'll see you again real soon for another episode of Explore TV.